Hello, my good friends. Hello, my good friends. How are you guys doing today? My name is Rodgon. I am an artist. I'm a designer. I'm an illustrator. I'm a cartoonist. And more importantly, I am your new favorite art teacher. How are you guys doing today? Hi, Coco. How you doing today? Welcome, everybody, as you come into the chat room. Nice to meet you. I am an artist. I do work for companies like Marvel, if you guys are interested. And I come on here every day to teach you guys a little new something about drawing that might make your life a little easier. Most of the time, you guys get to choose what we are going to talk about by simply asking a question in the forum. If you ask a question in the chat, odds are that will be our theme. That is how we normally do it, and, that's why I encourage people to come on here early. So, as we wait for our first question of the day, let's talk a little bit about what we learned yesterday. Yeah? How do you draw eyes? You can do eyes. So yesterday we were doing a lot of drawing from Disney songs. And we filled up a couple pages. Let's go back to those. So we were drawing things from Moana. We were drawing things from Beauty and the Beast. We were drawing just awesome things all night long. It was a really fun night yesterday. But the nights are for doodles. The mornings are for lessons. So we will begin our lesson today. How do you draw the rock? Look at a picture of him. That's how you would do it. I'm not here to draw celebrities. I particularly do not like celebrities as in general. I just don't like the concept of celebrities. So I don't ever sit here and draw celebrities. I just don't. All right, so let's talk about the eyes. You guys wanted to learn about the eyes? Let's talk about the eyes. Okay? Why are they hard? Why are they difficult? Why and how can we simplify them? So the eye in itself is complicated because it's not just a simple shape. Okay? There's a lot of overlapping lines, a lot of overlapping shapes, and a lot of things happening within the structure of even a simplified eye that doesn't make it super easy to be able to draw. But there is little tips and tricks that you can do to be able to facilitate your life when it comes down to drawing the concept of the eyeball. Sorry, I have like mucus in my nose. And it's like going down my throat and it's making me like do that like weird sound. Understanding the eyes is all about understanding the eyelids. It's not about understanding the actual organ that's just your eyeball. That's really easy. The organ, like the part that goes in your skull, is just 3 circles. The part that goes inside your head, peep, right inside your skull, is 3 circles. That is the easiest way to remember. There's the white part, the color part, and the black part. Now, knowing that, I can just change the size of those inside and change the look of my character. Okay? I don't have to do anything else other than change the size of that little thing inside, and then the character has a completely different look, a completely different style. So, but that's not necessarily the eye itself, right? Like the eye is parts this, and it's also the little lids that cover your eyelids. Your eyelids. How do we draw those? Those are really easy. If your eye is a circle, how do you give circle depth? A lot of people would say shading, right? That's not a bad way of going about it, but if you don't know how to do round things, shading is going to be pointless because you're not going to know what you're doing. You're just adding values, but you're not really understanding the roundness of it. And that's what you need. You don't, like, adding all the shadows can make it look really pretty, but it's not going to help you understand how to draw anything. It really isn't. Shadows is one of the least important parts of drawing. If your line work doesn't have depth, your shadows aren't going to help that. Okay? Your line work should be the part that has depth. And you do that through slight overlapping shapes, slight overlapping thicknesses, thick to thin lines. Learning the placement of things can go and take a simple shape and make it a lip. If I know exactly where to draw something, I can draw this, and that could be a mouth. I can draw a little triangle, that can be a nose, little dots, and that can be eyes. It's more importantly to know the placement of your elements than to know how to draw them with detail. Because if you know how to draw them with detail, that's cool and all, but if you don't know how to place them on the head, it's irrelevant. So, understanding your level of detail and your style is all going to be based on your knowledge. Like how much perspective and anatomy can you add to the things that you draw. And to draw something with depth, for example, with a circle, it's really important to understand that you just have to draw a circle inside. The circle gives you a guideline. It gives you a guideline for the front and the back of your shape. It goes around because it's a circle. Now, if I have the front and the back, this also gives me a surface. Huh, that's kind of cool. And depending on how I feel that day, this could be ambiguous. This could be seen as a surface that I can like stand someone on, or the surface could be opposite and I can have that perspective flipped. So it's really easy to find depth with a circle. Different circles, if you draw a really thin circle, you draw yourself something closer to a perspective, like horizon. Okay? If you draw something with a thicker circle, you get more of an overhead view. It's a very simple concept. Just keep that in mind, okay? Because that's going to help you determine the direction of your features as well. Learning this simple concept of perspective will insanely level up your drawings. But let's go on to how this works with the eyes. If your eye is a circle, and you have two more circles, and you draw one more circle inside, now you're going to have yourself a line that goes around. This line is going to go around your eyeball because you're drawing a circle inside. Okay? This could be your upper eyelid. Ooh. Let it overlap your eyeball. Okay? Now, the trick to the next part is to draw another line that intersects, but you have to make it thinner. Take this line, intersect it with another line that's thinner, and you have yourself the makings of an eyeball. The concept of the eyelashes is going to be just the stylization of that upper line. How do you want to stylize that line? Okay? Do you want to just leave it as a nice little simple curvy line? Just leave it as a super curvy line. Thick line, thin line. The intersection of them gives depth. The thickness of the line gives contrast. And if you open up the lines more, you get more of the eyeball. Okay? The more you close them, the more your eye is closed. So if you open them up, you get more of the eye. Clearly, right? You open it up, it's like a little window. Whee! You close the blinds, you end up with a closed eye. Eventually, you'll be able to distinguish how to move these in space by drawing different circles in different positions and be able to draw your eyes in any position you want with different expressions and stuff. So the eye itself is not very difficult. It's just 2 lines and 3 circles. But learning where to put those 3 lines and those 2 circles is normally the thing that takes a while to learn. Could you show eyes on the head? Yeah. It wouldn't be a good tutorial if I don't teach you guys how to put them on an actual drawing. So now that we know the shape of the eye and the concept behind 3 circles and 2 lines, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay? We thicken the top line for style, eyelashes. This overlapping shape already gives us our teardrop. And inside of that, if you double that line, you give your bottom lid depth. So if you bottom double this, this gives you the depth for your eyelid. You overlap this as a thicker line, you have yourself a style. And if you continue around the circle, you have yourself your eyelid. The rest of the circle is the eyelid. You're not drawing imaginary lines that don't lead to anything. This is the eyelid. Your eyebrow sits right on top of this. And your nose, you have the wall of your nose that goes up, then you have the width of your nose, and then you have the wall down. So you divide this into 3 parts, and then you do the same thing. Circle gives you the position for my eyebrows. Okay? The wall of the nose is the part that goes up on the side of your nose. If you consider the base of your eyes, right? If you draw your eyes and you draw a line up that goes towards your eyebrows, that is the wall of your nose. That is the side wall of your nose. I'll draw a little chubby one right now. So from the bottom of your eye, you can go wee, and this also connects to the back of your eye, which is really, really cool. You get like a nice natural flow from here to here. And then your cheekbone comes from the top, not necessarily, a little bit behind the eye, but I like to use the top of the eye as a reference, and then I just go out like that. So, the eye and the nose are pretty tied together. Okay? If you learn the basic guidelines to learning the flow of your eyeball, you're going to be able to learn how to do facial expressions really easy. Because now, imagine this, right? That circle, but now I want to cut it inside to make them look angry or whatever. I know where my brow muscle is going to end up. I know where everything's going to end up because I know this connecting point. It's a very interesting thing. It's a very fascinating thing. Whee! Becomes like a little cup. Like your eye is just like inside of a little cup. And with that, you can play around with your brow muscles. So you can draw anime, you can draw any of those things with this sort of techniques. It's more akin of just understanding the basic shape of your head. And then you get to choose your eyelashes any way you want. So you can draw super cool ones. You can draw rectangular ones. Once you understand the concept of it, it doesn't matter what you draw inside. You can draw little like goat eyes if you wanted to. The design itself is irrelevant. It's whatever you want to draw inside. I like to give myself like a little Sharingan eye, but with perspective points. Pew, pew, pew. It's my ninja way. And I think I might have pneumonia or something. I keep on like having these super dry coughs. I might be dying. We will never know because I don't go to the doctor. One day you guys just won't have any streams. And then you'll be like, where's Rod? If you do, send someone. Nobody knows where I live, but send someone. We're all dying just slowly. The sliding decay of entropy. All right, so what else is missing? What else am I missing? How do you draw profile eyes? 3/4 eyes, stuff like that. It's really easy, really easy. So you know how we drew a circle, right, for the eye, and it's 2 more circles inside? So we're going to consider those circles. As it gets closer to the edge, they get squishier, right? A circle moved in space just gets squishier as it rotates, so keep that in mind. It doesn't matter if it's rotated up. It's the same concept. If it gets rotated down, same concept. Left, right, same shit, okay? Same thing with a profile. If you move it up, if you move it to the sides, it's going to be the same thing. And obviously in the middle, well, you don't really get much in the middle, but just one choice because it's in the middle. Now, when you start adding your eyelashes or your eyelids, it's one curvy line and one thin line that intersects it, okay? When you have the front, the peak is going to be in the middle. The peak is going to be in the middle of the circle. The peak of the curve changes depending on your midline. If your midline is there, the peak of your upper curve is going to be right there. The peak of your front, well, you only see half of this. So if you have an eyeball and you want a profile, split it in half, and you have yourself the perfect view for your profile. Right, and just draw one line, one intersecting line, and then the front line becomes the actual eye. So you have the curvy part, and then the middle, the ball, becomes your eyeball. Right? So that is how you create depth. You go around your shape, and you put the eye inside. The moment that you thicken those lines and you add your looks and your style, you're going to have yourself an eyeball that looks like an eyeball. What about between profile and front? That's what this is. 3/4. So when we're drawing faces from a front view, we draw a little circle, 2 overlapping lines, little circle, 2 overlapping lines, and we have ourselves front eyes. 3/4, we move the midline to 3/4. We draw the closest eye to the side of the wall because this is going to tell you the spacing for an eyeball. From here, you draw that same size, not bigger, not bigger, not bigger. You're not a building. You don't get this sort of perspective in your head. Okay? You don't get that. You don't get a taper in your head. You just don't. That's why so many people mess up. Okay? Then you have your nose that blocks a little bit of it. And then you have curvy line number 1, curvy line number 1, curvy line number 2, curvy line number 2. Eyebrows on top of that circle. Cool. Right? When you draw it like this, you get one eye that's smaller, one eye that's bigger, and you end up with really weird drawings, and you don't even know how to draw the jaw because the jaw doesn't do this, right? So you're always going to have a problem finding the midpoint. This side's going to look really small, this side's going to be really big, and it's just going to be garbage. Instead, just draw a box. Just draw a box. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just draw a box in a circle. Okay? It's going to keep your life incredibly simplified. You can do that in any direction. Right? You know where things are supposed to go. And when you learn about your neck not being super hard, you're going to be able to have fun with art. So understanding, it doesn't have to be difficult. We get to choose to make it difficult or not. So eyes in themselves go through isometric perspective. What is isometric perspective? It's similar perspective. Like, it's not tapered perspective. It doesn't have a horizon. So if you take that same shape and you duplicate it and just connect the dots, that's isometric perspective. That's literally isometric perspective. You just have the same shape in space, somewhere else. Okay? So by taking a box and making one of the sides a circle, we can easily draw a skull. Learning how to draw a human skull in like a second flat because you knew how to draw a box in a circle is going to be insanely useful for you. Because sometimes we want to create things, but we don't even know how to construct them. Right? But if we have a basic construction of something, it's easier to build from there. It looks funny. It works really well, though. And then changing the lines, if you change the lines, you change the characteristics of the character. If you want really big eyes for your character, aka like a Pixar character or whatever, you make that midline bigger. If you make that midline smaller, you give yourself access to a completely different character trait. Okay? So you can change styles, you can change looks, you can change designs, you can change everything from just a simple box. How dope is that? Can you do the triangle for the eyes? Why would you use a triangle for the eyes? The eyes are circles. You never use a triangle for an eye. There's no point. It doesn't really work. Like, you can do that. Darken the top line and then that. That'll give you kind of like an eye like from a triangle, but it doesn't mean anything. There are... Oh, okay. That's what you mean. The guideline of the triangle. So if you have your box, in the bottom part right here, the second part, you draw a little hourglass or a triangle. You give yourself access to drawing your nose canal. That nose canal, if you draw a little teardrop from it, you're going to have yourself your teeth. Your cheekbones, your teeth, all connected in like a second. It's a very simple way to be able to see the human structure. And being able to connect it to the rest of the body becomes just as simple. If you know how to find the triangle within any shape, follow that down as a teardrop, follow those triangles up and to the sides to draw a circle, and you're going to have yourself access to a really quick skull out of any shape. It's a very convenient thing to know. Any shape, any midline, triangle, have access to drawing a head on any shape in front of me, period. Whatever stylization I choose to add to it is going to be completely up to me. Okay? So that is going to be the concept behind the triangle method. Just find the midline, find the triangle, follow those lines down to the side, and find yourself all your holes and your crevices, and then you can know where your things are supposed to go. The stylization you choose is going to be based on your knowledge of anatomy and perspective and references and everything else that you decide to draw. But itself, you're going to be able to draw faces from anything. Do you have any tips on how to draw hairlines from the side? Yeah. So let's draw a couple profiles. Let's draw some profiles. Yay. This person doesn't really have much of a lip, but whatever. So let's draw a quick face. So your hairline is going to come and touch the back of your head and the front of your head. But it's the easiest way to do them is just to find out your hat line. If you draw a circle inside, again, to find depth, this is going to give you the front and the back of your shape, right? So this is going to give me the front and the back of my shape. Now, this is going to be the basic point of the hairline. From the top of your head to your eyebrows, you split that in half, and you're going to have yourself the rough estimate of your hairline. From this circle that you draw touching the front and the back, you make it touch the ear, and from the ear, you make it touch the back of the neck. That is going to be the basic generic hairline for a human being. Anything you draw from here up is going to look like hair. Anything. You can make it as big as you want, as little as you want, drape it down, make it fall, whatever. Anything that you draw from that point is going to look like hair. From the eyebrow to the top of the head, split that in half, draw a circle. I have myself my hairline. Okay? If you have something like ponytails or something like that, whatever thing is holding the tension of the hair, all the hairs are gonna go towards that. All the lines are gonna get towards the point of tension. If you have 2 points of tension, aka you have a character that has 2 little pigtails or whatever, you're gonna have split in the hair, and then you're gonna have these go to this one, these go to this one. Okay? Sometimes you're gonna have loose hairs that aren't connected. Whee! Okay? So keeping track of all those things is going to keep your characters looking a little bit better. Hair grows up and falls down. So once you find your hairline, eyebrow, top of the head, split it in half, go to my ear, ear goes back to my neck. Okay? So once I have that basic shape, hair grows up and then falls down. So as it grows, when it's shorter, when it's like a really short, like buzz cut, you just draw dots. And then as it grows bigger, you're going to want to draw like grass. Okay? You're going to want to draw grass. Then it gets in its longer grass. Okay? If you combine these two things, you have fades, military cuts, stylization, right? You can combine both of them, and then you have something akin of hair, like in different styles. Now, hair grows up and goes down when it's longer. So if it starts getting long, it starts getting affected a little bit more by stylization. Okay? The longer it gets, the less it rises and the more it falls. But it always goes up first. Always. And it wraps around your body like a cylinder. So if you draw your character, right, you draw their body and everything, all you have to do, if they have long hair, find the hairline, find how it would fall around their body, and then you can just do that. And that would be as easy as that. Find your hairline, find how long you want your hair, and then it grows up, falls down, grows up, falls down. A lot of the times I don't spend time teaching hair because hair is almost as easy as clothing. It's just parallel perspective. Parallel perspective is essentially learning how to find volume in something, let's say like a leg. This is the easiest to explain. By drawing a circle inside, now I have perspective. I have a front and a back. And this is ambiguous, so it could be the front and the back. So let's draw two similar ones. Draw the same circle. If I choose this one, then my leg is pointing a certain way. If I choose this one, my leg is pointing a certain way. Now, what happens if I take that same perspective point, but I make it a little bit bigger and I connect it to the origin points? Same little circle, make it bigger, and now I have negative space. Interesting. So what happens when you do that, but then you have like a bunch of lines because the things are baggy? Oh, that happens. Oh, you have all these overlapping lines to draw all that volume. Interesting. So let's say we have an arm instead of a leg. Right? If I want to draw a watch, I just draw two circles around my wrist and I have myself a watch. If I want a t-shirt, I'm going to draw a circle that touches both sides of my arm. And if I want it tight, that's it. Like literally I just add color. If I want it baggy, I can make that bigger to whatever side gravity affects it and make it baggier. I can do that to both sides if I want to. If I have something like a hoodie, I need an entry point. I need the bagginess level of it, and then that gets repeated throughout. This is going to provide you all those little bumps that you need. Okay? Understanding how to bend things and give them volume isn't very difficult. You just touch the edges with circles. Now, the circle depth, the circle wide, the width of the circle kind of matters. Okay? The depth of the circle is going to give the perspective of the shot. So if you draw a really thick circle, you're seeing a lot of the front of it, right? You're seeing most of it. But if you draw a thin circle, you're going to make things thinner. You're literally making things much, much thinner, and it's another thing that you can play with. But it's going to be consistently easier to just do it from circles. It's just going to, like, even if it's not necessarily a circular part, let's say the wrist is not a circle, right? The wrist in itself is going to be broken down like this. It's more of an oval. But there's a trick to learning how to draw the hands that makes it super stupidly easy. Within that cylinder or oval, draw two circles and then draw them as little cylinders coming down by drawing circles inside them. That's how your bones work, right? Now, from these, wherever you have these two circles, one of them is going to connect to your pinky. So we're going to take this and we're going to draw a connection point to your pinky. Whee! The other one is going to connect to your index, and it's going to connect to your thumb. So as long as one circle connects to this, we have a circle that connects to another circle. And this one has the thumb as well. Well, Well, I need 2 of these, right? Because we just drew 2 of them. And then that goes to our arm. Oh, well, this other one goes to my pinky. I connect them, and I have the base of my hand. I just need 2 more of these, and I have myself a hand in perspective, doing whatever I want. Okay? So to learn to draw the hand, these 2 circles become really important. Let's say you have a hand, an arm. At the end of the arm, draw 2 circles. One of them is going to go to your pinky. One of them is going to go to your index. You connect them. The index one also has your thumb. And in between, you have 2 more. How easy was that? It was actually really, really simple. That's the real answer. Do you need more circles for fingers? For print fingers? No, fingers are really easy. If you want to learn fingers, it's all about the figure 9. If you want to learn to draw fingers, you got to learn to do little figure 9s. Figure 9, figure 9, figure 9. Fingers have a stiff side and they have a squishy side. So you always draw the stiff side first. Whenever you're drawing anything, you draw the stiff side first, aka the bone, and then you draw the squishiness for your finger inside. So you draw your finger bone into the muscle. Finger bone into the muscle. Finger bones, combine 2 of them into the muscle. We have 1, 2 bones in our wrist. 1 goes to our pinky, 1 goes to our index. And that also gives us the division of where your muscles are going to work. So it's a really easy way to learn your hands. Draw a fist. A fist is just your palm, your wrist with 2 circles, right? Your thumb goes inside, or your knuckles are just going to be pointing out. And depending on the impact point, you might actually want to bend your wrist down a little bit to create a more defined tension point. Depending on the type of fist you want to make, yeah. From the front, your thumb goes inside. Your thumb has 2 parts, okay? Has 2 parts. If you consider those 2 parts, that's going to be really easy. Okay, 2 circles at the base. 1 goes to your pinky. Whee! 1 goes to your index. Whee! And then between I have 2 more fingers. The muscles for the hand go as such. Your pinky gets its own little muscle on the palm. Your thumb gets its own little muscle on the palm. And then the palm that you see here is just your knuckle line. That's where your finger knuckles go. Okay, so that's the 3 parts of your hand. 2 circles, the same size as a palm. You don't have to make them bigger or smaller, right? Your palm is not any bigger than your wrist. It's normally your thumb that makes it look like that. When you stop doing the little hammer thing, things get a little bit easier. Pinky, index, thumb. Inside, inside, inside. Do you have tips for bodies in perspective? Well, bodies in perspective are really easy. We talked about posing yesterday a lot. like a lot. Like he went into the whole concept of the two ball figures. So if you consider that your head, aka your neck, and your crotch are the same width, you can just take those two into consideration and draw human structures from those 2 points. It's a very interesting little relationship that we have. Now, that is something that is not really fully explained in a lot of different people's methods because probably they just don't see it. But your neck and your groin are roughly the same width. And you can learn to draw your bodies through finding those 2 points really, really easy. It's a very cool concept. Yeah, and it helps a lot with like posing and stuff like that. So I was just trying to break it. I was trying to break the concept to see if I could like make it not work. And no, it works really well in every position, shape, size, even with different characters. It just ends up working really well for spatial things too, because if you make it smaller, you're making the character go into space, right? You're using basic foreshortening techniques. So if we have a character that has a circle and a circle the same size, right? This is going to be the head, hip bones, rib cage. Line in the front for collarbone. And the outside of the arms comes from there. So if I have a very basic character like that, now I'm going to make it go into perspective by just making this smaller. So if I make that smaller, that's where my hip bones go. My hip bones change position, but my head doesn't. So therefore, even if I'm connecting everything the same, it moved my character in space by just making that smaller. Your legs are almost an inch short, then add an inch. You just told me the mistake. You just told me you are able and capable of fixing your own errors. If you're telling me the mistake, you already know it. You already acknowledged it. All you have to do is apply it. So if your legs are a little too short, add a little bit more. Well, if you do it and you correct it and you do the thing that I would tell you to do, I don't know how to explain it. Like if you're telling yourself the right answer, right? But you're still telling yourself, I don't know how to do that right, then it's a matter of looking up references. You might have to look up references to see how and where you are messing up. Unless I have you right in front of me, I can't really help you with that. There you go. Oh my God, can you draw people running? Oh my God, can you stop being so entitled? You know how annoying that sounds? When someone's like, oh my God, just do it. Just draw the thing that I'm telling you, draw it. Imagine if you had the goal to say that to me in person. Imagine if you had me right in front of you and you demanded that. How do you think that I, as a teacher, would respond to you? Just saying. I take this seriously. I go on here every day to try to help people. Every day. And I do not appreciate entitlement. Have you shown how to draw mouths, broski? Yes, maybe not today, but I can show you real fast. Clothes. You want to learn clothes? Okay, clothing is like parallel perspective. It's kind of like we did with hair. If we wanted to add clothing to things, right? You got to find a good base for your character, okay? And then when you find that, you're going to draw circles inside of your shapes. Those circles are going to give you the front and the back of your shape. If you take those circles and you make them a little bigger, it gives you negative space. If you connect them back to wherever your clothing originate, you have clothing. Your perspective point, you can choose either one of these lines to be the front. So if I choose this one to be the front, guess what? It gives me a completely different perspective. So clothing in themselves is about finding the volume of your body by touching both edges with a circle, making those as big as you want that clothing to be, and then find the negative space. By doing that, you can draw clothing in any direction you want. And it's just as easy for accessories like hats. Okay? Draw a circle, choose the front, connect it back to the origin point. And that's going to be the consistent way to do that. Okay, that is literally the easiest way to draw clothing. And that's why I don't spend a lot of time doing it, because once you find out how to draw volume in general, this becomes the easiest thing in the world. You just draw random lines if you want to draw random clothing. Things like shirts and stuff like that are just split t-shirts. This is going to be more of a reference thing. You're going to have to go and look at references of how people dress so that you can see how to apply those little things, right? Because this is going to apply to armor. This is going to apply to anything that you really want to wrap around your character. This is going to be the concept behind it. Okay? If you want to give something any sort of accessories, armor, clothing, or any sort of look when it comes down to just not being normal, that is what you're going to have to learn to do. Are you available to show the pizza slice method for the side profile? Ooh. See, I like you, dude. I like you. You, first of all, you asked respectively. You asked nicely. Second of all, you tell me things that I have done before, so I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that shit. You're feeding my ego, man. And that is the easiest way to get me on my good side. If you want me to draw anything for you, just feed my ego. I'm not opposed to some flattery. Tell me I'm great and I'll give you the world. Could you please go? Okay, so hold on. Let's do the pizza slice thing first, okay? If you want to draw heads, I came up with this really cool technique called the uneven pizza slice. So if you just take a circle and you make a pizza, right? And you're going to make one of the slices uneven. Just make it uneven. Right now, I'm making it like a little box, but it doesn't have to be that shape, okay? If you take that, you could easily change that into a different character. Let's draw a little Vicky. Then let's say we want another character. Oh, we want a big hulky character. Wow. It gives me the general guidelines for being able to understand how to draw different characters. It's a very cool technique because it's not even necessarily just for humans. If you decide that you want to draw animals, all you got to do is draw whatever snoot you have in front of them, and then you can draw animals as well with the uneven pizza slice. If you take a different pizza slice instead of the top one, you can use it to draw things like dragons and crocodiles and things that don't really have a forehead. And then you use the bottom part to draw your jaw. Yay! So the way that I draw dragons, if you have never seen my dragons, oh my God. Let me show you guys the Book of Bernie for a second. So if you've never really seen my fun stuff, this is what I like to draw. I like to draw dragons getting killed by bunnies. In magical scenarios of them. Yeah, well, this is my character. His character is Bernie, and Bernie kills dragons. with magical weapons. Right? He decapitates them, and then he uses their blood to create his own magical weapons. So he feeds his hobby with his hobby. And we're developing the whole storyline for him on our own. Like, I'm coming up with everything that I'm ever going to need for him, from marketing materials to conceptual art to the anatomy of things, to his movement, to his landscapes, to his background characters, everything. So that is what I've been spending my free time doing. And we came up with our first main Panda Squad character. Her name is going to be Vicky. Vicky will be playing a large role in this story. So, but yeah, if you want to learn how to draw dragons and stuff like that, that's essentially what I do. So, the bunny is done exactly the same way too. The bunny has all his features on the bottom, and the dragons have all their features at the top. It's a very simple concept to be able to build faces, but it's so incredibly useful. So it's not just for humans, it's for anything with a skull. Anything with a skull, you could do that. And let's say that you want to draw somebody with multiple eyes. That one's a really fun one. Because somebody was telling me to draw Sukuna the other day. So instead of a box, right, a box would give you your nose bridge and your eye sockets. Well, you need another nose bridge and another eye socket. So the more eyes you have, the more anatomy you need to build to be able to draw that accurately. Right? Because every eye is going to have its own temples, its own eyebrow muscles, and everything. So you can draw as many as you want. Make yourself characters that are very compelling and interesting. But you have to learn how all of them would connect. Do you work for Disney? I work for Marvel. Technically Disney. I do a lot of Marvel Snap characters. I do a lot of chibi stuff for them. So they contract me because my little chibi characters are fucking awesome. They're like, yeah, fuck yeah, hire Rod, he's awesome. Plus I'm fast, I'm efficient, and I'm a very charming man. So I'm likable. I'm a very likable human being. Not to brag or nothing, but I'm kind of cool. Can confirm. Yeah, it would be really nice to make like a meetup for people. Like, it would be so cool to like make like a meetup like somewhere. But now LA is destroyed, so now LA as a hub is gonna be really hard to use. Nobody wants to travel to Tijuana, so nobody ever wants to come down to Tijuana to hang out with me. So I have to think that maybe in San Diego at some point. Yeah, maybe like just find like a nice, fun coffee shop and then just set it out for everybody in the world to be able to come join me there every week at some point. And I can do my study sessions there. I was doing that for like 7 years. And you know how many people showed up in 7 years of me doing that? 2. 7 years of me having a same constant standing study session at a coffee shop every week, just hoping that people would show up to come learn. Nobody ever did. It's kind of discouraging too, honestly. It's very, very sad whenever like people are like, yeah, we want to do this, but nobody ever shows up and you're the only person trying to like make things happen, right? So it's just a little discouraging sometimes, but at the end of the day, you know, if you're not the person setting the paved path and you want something done, you need to be okay with things not going your way a lot. right? You need to be used to doing that. You need to be used to having the expectation that nobody knows where you want to end up. But that doesn't mean that you don't have direction and you don't know what you're doing. Just means that other people haven't given you that open path that you can just follow as a roadmap. You have to set the roadmap yourself. And that's the difference between someone being just a person along for the ride and you being a leader. You being a person that's going to lead others into seeing things like you. And that's what I like being. I like being a leader. I don't like being a follower. I've never been that person. Reminds me of the saying, you lead a camel to water, but you can't make him drink. Yeah, absolutely. My dad always told me that for every 1,000 people in the world, there's only a couple leaders, but there's a lot of people willing to follow. Right? So if you want to be one of the people that follow, you have to be a person that understands that and be okay with that and be happy with understanding, hey, I am here to execute other people's things. But then there's people that don't want that. People that want to be the glory all on their own. And that's people like me. I have a huge ego. I have always had a huge ego. And I don't shy away from it. Like, my ego is what has gotten me what I have been able to do. Without it or him or whatever you want to call him, I wouldn't be where I am. Right? I wouldn't be the success that I am if I didn't think of myself highly. And that is something that is going to affect a lot of you guys. And you think that you have to be humble and you have to like always be like, no, it's okay. People pleasing like a motherfucker. And no, that's not the case at all. You don't have to do that. Guess what? You are a person that has a talent that most people covet and they'll never achieve. You have a skill that most human beings aim to achieve at some point in their life. They don't even know how, they just want to do it. Right? People that spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to even remotely get close to what you have as an innate skill. And that's imagination. Okay? Just because somebody doesn't praise you about it and they don't like your post online and stuff like that doesn't mean that they're not desperately trying to have that skill themselves. So being able to draw in general is incredibly tough and hard. It's already difficult as hell to be able to draw anything even remotely competent, right? And then on top of that, being able to put imagination and thought and like making them look nice. Holy shit, that's a whole other fucking monster, right? And then you have to apply that information to something that's relevant to other people so that other people like what you do. So that's a whole other beast. Now you have to learn a little bit about psychology and marketing and all that stuff. Okay? If you understand a little bit more about your fields, you're going to be less daunted by the things that are asked of you. A lot of the times, the confusion and the hard part comes from lack of understanding. It's not about anything other than that. You just don't know how to draw bodies, so therefore it's hard, even though the concept itself is relatively simple. Finding guidance is sometimes really fucking hard because everybody puts it behind a paywall. Every single human being wants to profit a little bit from what they have learned. Okay? And when you get to a certain point, it's really hard to find any significant lessons. For somebody, for example, with me, that I've been doing this for 20 years, right? 20 years of studying. And I'm constantly trying to find some new stuff to learn. I ran out of things to learn a year into studying like that. Because everybody was repeating the same things. Everybody was teaching the Loomis method. Everybody was doing variations of the Loomis method. And it seemed like a very restricted way to be able to do things, right? So the only way that I can draw like that is following this guy? Who the fuck was this guy before like that? Like, not putting anything down on Andrew Loomis or anything. But when a standardized way of drawing becomes a standard that everybody follows, well, guess what? You're not innovating anything. No. Copying me is fine. Learning from me is fine. I'm giving this knowledge out freely. That's the whole point. But I don't encourage people to just do things based solely on what I provide them. Right? Well, the Loomis method is fantastic if you're already an advanced person. If you already know the concept of slicing things in half and learning how to do these things like this, right? If you are knowledgeable enough to do this, this is already beyond what you need to do. If you already know how to do this, why are you doing it like this? No one live with your live right now? Hey, Stella, please stop spamming. Only one warning. The one thing I don't tolerate here is spamming. Okay? I'll be more than happy to do some of the things you asked, but if you start spamming, I'm going to just block you. So I'll teach you mouths. Teach you mouths because they're really easy. Mouths, just like we did with eyes. Eyes are two curvy lines, right? Two curvy lines, and then you draw two circles inside. You darken the top line, and you get overlapping shapes for your eyelashes, and for your teardrop. We have eyes. So two curvy lines, one thick one thin one, and two circles inside give you an eye. Your stylization comes from mostly the top eyelash in your eyebrows. Whatever you do with those two is going to be mostly your style. Doesn't matter if it's super simple. It's a thick line into my eye. If I add a thin line to that, I would have a whole section of an eye for a cartoon or something. If I want to add more detail, I have to add my eyelid. This is already looking in the middle of something, so let's make them looking at like a bee or something. Okay, two curvy lines. All right, okay, Kaka, you're out. I told you guys not to fucking spam. I'm not playing around here, man. Like, I actually take this seriously, so if you guys want to fuck around, you're gonna find out. What can you do to draw more expressive faces? Learn the interaction of your eyebrows and your eyes. Your eyebrow and your eye are going to be very similar to each other, very close to each other. The eye is going to be a little bit narrower than your eyebrow. Okay, so when you draw your two lines, you're going to see that your eye is most of the time a little bit smaller than your eyebrow. If you keep that in mind, it's going to help you a lot. When you draw an eyebrow, you can draw it over the eye, and it's going to give you a completely different look. Your eyebrow will always be on top of the eye. So if your eyebrow comes down, now you have a completely different look. It's going to cover your eye. All right. Hey. You guys are going to get blocked immediately if you try to fuck with this. I'm not annoyed. I'm getting annoyed. I'm really getting annoyed. And that's not an easy thing. So Zendin, you stop or you stop. Do you usually stick to cartoon over something more realistic? No, I'm not teaching you realism or cartooning. Like, the concept is that I'm teaching you how to draw an eyeball. Whatever you do with that look or whatever that design is, you can do anything you want with it. You can draw something as simple as a circle, just darken the top line and have yourself a simple cartoony eye. Or you can draw more detailed things depending on your level of understanding of knowledge, of anatomy and style and stuff. I'm not teaching you realism. I'm not teaching you cartooning. I'm teaching you foundational skills. Right? I'm not teaching you how to draw a style. I'm not even teaching you how to draw like me. I'm just teaching you how to find the volume of things so that you can apply any sort of look you want to them. Okay? You don't have to ever, even remotely, do the things that I do. Okay? So, any other questions? Mr. Rodgon, lips from different angles. If they're two curvy lines, this is an exercise that I like to do for any body part, okay? If you start with a circle and you draw a circle inside, it's going to give you a guideline. If I wanted to draw eyes, I can draw eyes on this guideline and see how it would look drawing the eyes in different positions. This sort of technique works perfectly well to practice things like noses, mouths, any sort of time that you have time to kill. You can draw a guideline by drawing a circle and a circle, and then teaching yourself how to draw something in space is as easy as seeing if your knowledge of anatomy and perspective allow you to be able to rotate that around a simple sphere. If you don't, then you pay attention to the parts where you don't know how it's done, and that's what you study for the next week. If you don't know how to draw eyes looking up, guess what? I'm going to make you draw a circle looking up for a week. Because if you hammer your weaknesses, instead of always just drawing the same shit you're good at, then you eventually stop having weaknesses. But if you keep on postponing them, and I don't want to learn how to draw noses. It's hard. I don't want to learn how to draw eyes. That's hard. I'm just going to draw them stylized like I've always been doing them because that's my style. That's my style. You know, I could probably take any style that you guys present me and break it down within 30 minutes or less and be able to draw it as accurately as you as possible, even closer, even probably improve on it. The thing is, style is not the go-all, be-all of what your goal should be as an artist. Your style is just a variation of your knowledge. If you know enough perspective, you're going to be able to do things in perspective. You're going to be able to draw things like faces and heads and all that stuff in perspective a little bit more. You're going to be able to position buildings and all that stuff in space better because you know perspective. You're going to be able to be creative a little bit more than a person that doesn't because you're not guessing how to draw shit. You use perspective for everything, not just buildings. You use it for everything. Okay? Everything from a simple little cylinder, a little drawing of a tripod, or if you're going more complex, that gets a lot more complicated. Okay? So if you want to learn perspective and you want to be able to do pinups and draw Disney characters and draw storyboards and comics and all that shit, you need to learn how to use perspective. And most of the time, it's really simple. It's just about learning how to draw a circle and different size circles inside of a circle. Thin circles give you a different perspective. Thick circles give you a different perspective. That's it. If you learn that, you'll be able to learn how to draw things so much cooler. Just spend a week playing with that. Okay? Nobody grows in comfort. Nobody grows in comfort. And if you guys want to put yourself to the test, go join me tonight. At 3 p.m., I'm going to give a lesson about the 2-week sketchbook. Okay? I'm giving a presentation at 3 p.m. Pacific. So 3 p.m. Pacific in maybe 4 hours or so. I'm going to give a lesson. I'm going to just give a speech like this whole thing. And it's on my links in my TikTok, Instagram, all that shit. So just go join us if you guys want to learn how to put yourself through stress to be able to grow exponentially quick. Okay? Nobody grows in comfort. And knowing what to do to put yourself in the right amount of stress in the correct way can help you build habits, can help you get better, can help you feel encouraged, can fuel your soul. So this is you got to follow the link in my Instagram or my TikTok. It's going to be like a little waiting list. It's like a little, it's like external from the social medias. It's for my academy. So you get a little special viewing and presentation from me. No, stress is not awful. Stress is not awful. You need stress in your life. You don't, like, imagine if you're playing a new video game, right? And you don't know how to play it. Would you give up if you just lose the first time? No, of course not. You're putting yourself through stress, losing, learning, and adapting. And that's what you do as you get better with your art. You learn, you adapt, but if you get too comfy and you're like, well, no, I just want to do it like this because it's easy now. Oh, I want to do this, but I can't do it. Oh, it's okay. I'll just be okay with not doing it. Like, those complacent thoughts are the ones that get you in trouble later on. They're the ones that 10 years down the line, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I'd learned how to draw really cute characters. Oh, I wish I learned how to draw portraits. Oh, I wish I learned how to do this. I wish, when you could have done it, but you just refused to put the work in because it was hard. But guess what? It's not hard if it's taught by the right person. It really isn't. Like, just go look at all the reviews. Just get all the reviews. I have literally zero. Well, I might have gotten a couple bad reviews on YouTube, just mostly because I cuss a lot. But when it comes down to the actual teaching, it speaks for itself, right? It all speaks for itself. Like, I teach good. It's the harder, faster, stronger. Yeah, pretty much. Can you show how to do eyes looking straight forward? Straight forward? It's just two curvy lines. Curvy line that's thick, curvy line that's thin. Overlap the top line so you have a little bit of space for your tear duct and so you can enhance your eyelashes on the side. Draw two half circles or whatever. If the curvature is really big, you can fit a whole circle in there. If the curvature is really small, you're going to have yourself a closed eye. And you can even go down with your lines to make different facial expressions. So it doesn't have to stay to a certain line. Boom. So that is how you draw eyes in any perspective, shape, or form in like two simple shapes. You're welcome. Just go on to my Rodgon account. No, you can just follow the link on my Instagram. I haven't posted that 2-week sketchbook onto the Academy yet. So I'm going to send that viewing link to you guys as well. I don't see what reason why we haven't done that yet. I think I was supposed to do that like the first time that we did it. But I don't know why the person didn't. Now that I'm thinking about it, if you guys haven't gotten it, then it's kind of an issue. I need to figure out why that wasn't sent to you guys. But come join us and come learn firsthand. And then I'll send the viewing link to you guys today. If registrations are closed, will I still be able to join? Yeah. As a matter of fact, most people will get like a massive discount if they join. If they join throughout the presentation, they get like an extra 50 to 30% discount or some shit like that. Anybody that wants to register, you guys can just hit me up. Just hit me up with a message, and I'll send you guys a link to subscribe. We normally do it like that so we can keep track of sales throughout the year. So if we only open it a couple times a year, it makes it so that we aren't constantly just having to generate reports. So that's the reason why. It's mostly just to facilitate the HR situation in the background. And that's why we don't keep it open all the time. But if you guys want to join, you guys can just message me directly. Like I said, I don't do this for money. I don't do it as a matter of like trying to hustle people out of money. I just do it because I need to make a living. And some people like to pay for an organized way of learning. So I provided that. The streams will never stop. The free lessons will never stop. Okay? That's just not going to happen because that's the whole point of me being here, to provide knowledge to people that don't have access to that, right? To provide a little bit of encouragement to those that don't have anybody to draw with, to find friendly people that just want to create, because that's all I want. I don't give a shit about money. Like, I really don't. Like, I just need to have that because otherwise I starve and I have to go and do other shit instead of teaching. So that's why the school started, so that I could just do this full time. And I'll always be transparent with every single one of you guys. Like, you know, it's just me and my puppy, and that's literally it. And we reach 1.2 million people every year. No, not every year, every month. So it's like, it's overwhelming. And until I get an assistant like, or somebody bossy that just tells me what the fuck to do every single day. Until I get that, it becomes really difficult to do it for myself. So I'm going as quick as I can with what my little brain can do. So I try to help as many people as I can with the resources that I have available to me, because I don't like taking help from others too. It makes me sad when I don't live up to people's expectations, and then they just make me feel bad for trying to help me. And it sounds horrible, but that's like a huge component of why I don't take people on as partners or anything like that, because I feel bad. I feel horrible sometimes. And the expectations put upon me make me feel even worse. And if I do it for myself, I don't have any expectations. I don't have to worry about making someone feel like, oh, you didn't put 100%. No, that's on me. I get to choose that every single day. And if I keep it at the state that it's in, I can live a nice, comfy life, and not an extravagant life, but I can just live my life teaching and everything. The moment that I have to think about bringing someone else in, like a girlfriend or a partner, then I have to double that, right? So it just becomes incredibly stressful for me. And then I'm like, ugh, I can contain myself. I don't know if I can make you happy, but I can make me happy. So it's been really difficult in that sense too, because I'm like, nobody aligns with what I want to do. Nobody that I ever meet has ever aligned with what I want to do. And until I find that person, I'm not going to be happy with people. Where do you get ideas for character designs? Do you make design sheets? I don't like to call them design sheets. I like to call them architectural sheets. Because to me, it's not about the design itself. I can draw a character design easy. I can just draw a character. But I don't like to just draw characters. I like to build them. Right? I don't like designing a character, just drawing him. I like to architecturally construct him so that anyone can go in and draw him. You'll see a lot of drawings that have half measurements, guidelines, little tiny measurements like that. And those are me just refining little tiny things about the drawing until I get the look that I want. As you will see, you'll start seeing the drawings go from very erratic, like very differently, different styles, different angles. And by the end of this, they're very much getting consistent. They're getting to be very similar in nature. And that happens naturally as you draw something more and more and more. The beautiful part for me is taking those elements and then expanding that to the character having life. The character being seen like a character that could actually be alive, could actually interact with you. You see it and you see love, you see pettiness, you see anger, right? That is what I'm aiming to do. I'm not aiming to design a character to make it look cool. I'm making a character so that I can be in a fucking universe, right? So that anyone can imagine him and do anything they want with him. Learning how to break them down into movement sheets and stuff like that. Yeah, that would be the equivalent of a character design turnaround and shit. But that's boring to me. I don't like doing things like that. Right? I like just breaking things down into every single component and then seeing how I can facilitate that into the design structure that I need. And I am really good at it. People pay me pretty nicely for doing design sheets for them. Or architectural sheets, if you say so. So, thank you so much for your time and attention, everyone. We have completed our lesson for today. We have successfully learned how to draw eyes. We have successfully learned how to draw heads in any single direction by drawing a box and a circle. We have learned about hair and how it grows, how it facilitates, how it functions on our head, and how it fits within the structures of the box and the circle so that you can learn to do that. Using the box and the circle, you can also use the uneven pizza slice since you have a big circle on the side of the head. And then doing that allows you the ability to be able to draw different characters of different types, different animal traits, and everything in between. If you multiply the box and you add different sections, you can add people with more eyes than you really have to. And we also talked about clothing, parallel perspective, and learning how to draw the hand from 2 circles and your wrist. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for allowing me to do the thing that I love doing the most, which is being a teacher. And if you guys want to join me for our lesson tonight about the 2-week sketchbook, just go join us in our Instagram page. I think it should be in the stories on Instagram. Go in my stories on Instagram, or I believe there's a link here as well. I think one of the posts is, or one of the stories or whatever. Go follow us. Go join us tonight so you can learn how to improve your skills in 2 weeks, period. Like, you will improve, like, period. And the chance to get one of all of my books if you complete the challenge. How about that? I'll incentivize you guys, like, period. And the chance to get one of all of my books if you complete the challenge. How about that? I'll incentivize you guys. If you finish the challenge, which not a lot of people do, by the way. Not a lot of people get to finish it because it's not an easy challenge, but it's going to be an incredibly useful challenge. So if you come join us and you finish it, I'll give you one of each one of my books as a digital format. I'll give you guys an ebook for each one of those things. Yeah? So join us. Come find us. The links are where you should be able to find it. Sorry, I can't just put it on here, but the links are there. Find me. See you guys later today at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific. And for those that want to see it later, hit me up and I'll send you a DM with the viewing link later if you can't make it for some reason. All right. Take care. Love you guys all. See you guys next time.